Every once in a while, I like to surprise my wife with a movie that she knows nothing about. This weekend, we saw The Life of Chuck. Once the credits rolled, she was raving about this movie, saying it was such a good movie. And I said, who do you think wrote the original material for that movie? She couldn't guess. And I said, it was Stephen King. Now, my wife isn't into horror, and she really thinks of Stephen King as that horror writer. But Stephen King writes some amazing stories about the human condition. Some of his best-known movies are movies that some people may not even think of as Stephen King movies. The Shawshank Redemption, The Green Mile, Stand By Me. The Life of Chuck fits in that category. Now, it does have some elements of fantasy and even a bit of science fiction in an apocalyptic sense. It's moments in the life of a character named Charles Krantz, Chuck. It's told in 3 short stories, basically. Stephen King wrote them this way. So these 3 short stories are interlinked. The Life of Chuck starts with Act 3. Thanks, Chuck. Then it moves to Act 2, Buskers. And the final act, I Contain Multitudes. The first short story, we have an apocalyptic event taking over Earth. There are earthquakes, California's in danger. The day itself, the rotation of the Earth might be slowing. It seems like the Earth is dying. This is the end. Or is it? What's happening? This, by itself, would have made a perfect Twilight Zone episode. An episode where the ending reframes what you have just watched. And there's mysterious signs throughout this story, building in frequency as you watch. Charles Krantz, 39 great years. Thanks, Chuck. So in Act 2, Buskers, we see a 30-ish something Charles Krantz walking down the street, carrying his briefcase. He's come from work. He's sharply dressed. There is a busker, a drummer, in the street. The beat, the sound, something captures Charles' soul. He starts to dance. I don't really want to go too much further. I'm really trying to preserve this story for you as it is in the discovery from story to story that you find a deeper level of understanding. And the last story, I Contain Multitudes, is a young Charles Krantz in grade 6. The title, I Contain Multitudes, might be something you recognize. Let me read a passage here from that 3rd story. On the last day of 6th grade, Miss Richards, a sweet, hippy-dippish young woman who had no command of discipline and would probably not last long in the public education system, tried to read Chuck's class some verses of Walt Whitman's Song of Myself. It didn't go well. The kids were rowdy and didn't want poetry, only to escape into the months of summer stretching ahead. Chuck was the same, happy to throw spitballs or give Mike Enderby the finger when Miss Richards was looking down at her book. But one line clanged in his head and made him sit up straight. When the class was finally over and the kids set free, he lingered. Miss Richards sat at her desk and blew a strand of hair back from her forehead. When she saw Chuck still standing there, she gave him a weary smile. That went well, don't you think? Chuck knew sarcasm when he heard it, even when the sarcasm was gentle and self-directed. What does that mean when he says, I am large, I contain multitudes? That made her smile perk up. She propped one small fist on her chin and looked at him with her pretty gray eyes. What do you think it means? All the people he knows? Chuck ventured. Yes, she agreed, but maybe he means even more. Lean forward. He leaned over her desk, where American verse lay on top of her grade book. Very gently, she put her palms to his temples. They were cool. They were so wonderful he had to suppress a shiver. What's in there between my hands? Just the people you know? More, Chuck said. He was thinking of his mother and father and the baby he never got a chance to hold. Alyssa, sounds like rain. Memories. Yes, she said, everything you see, everything you know, the world, Chuck. Planes in the sky, manhole covers in the street. Every year you live, that world inside your head will get bigger and brighter, more detailed and complex. Do you understand? I think so, Chuck said. Act 3 starts with an apocalyptic type story, and then we move into Act 2 with a very personal moment in Charles Krantz's life as he meets a busker and dances. And then the first story, I Contain Multitudes, has a number of longer moments here. It might be the strongest of the three stories, and to King's credit, he finds a way of tying these three stories together in a very satisfying, emotionally satisfying, and plot satisfying way. If you're scratching your head still wondering how this all works, I really don't want to explain too much further because this is a film that you need to experience, or the three short stories that are found in the collection If It Bleeds. But I just want to say that this is on par with his best stories, his best films. This is a film anyone who loves The Shawshank Redemption or Stand By Me or The Green Mile should seek out. And it's a bit of a kinder, gentler storytelling than some of those films. It's moving and it's life-affirming. I remember when I first read these stories when this collection came out, I started thinking about Stephen King in his 70s, starting to look at life in different ways. What is precious in life? Some of the moments, some of the connections. Now, I understand if Stephen King is somebody that you're not interested in reading, but I would recommend this film to anyone. I know my wife loved it. In fact, she loved it so much, she went and read the three stories here, and she was amazed how well the filmmaker had adapted the stories. She strongly encouraged me to make this video. Personally, I think the film is stronger than the stories, that it adds more depth. I know that Mike Flanigan, the filmmaker, is well known for his connections to Stephen King, for their relationship. Mike Flanigan? Well, you might know him from Netflix series such as The Haunting of Hill House or Midnight Mass. He also adapted King's novel, Gerald's Game. Now, I just want to talk about the thumbnail for this video where I made a connection between The Shawshank Redemption and The Life of Chuck. Are they on par? It's more than just the story itself. Both of them were box office failures. We know that The Shawshank Redemption has now become one of those films that many people include on their best of list. It didn't connect somehow in its initial release. Some people even say perhaps the name was just hard to market. I feel the same way about The Life of Chuck. I think it's going to become a classic. It could be on some people's best films list, at least certainly for 2025. And also the title, The Life of Chuck. This is a hard film to promote. You really can't release too much of the story details, and to Mike Flanigan's credit, he didn't. The previews really don't give the story away. So I think The Life of Chuck and The Shawshank Redemption are very much on par, and that years from now, we'll see them both as two great examples of films made from Stephen King's work. There's another detail I want to attend to as well, and it is the dedication at the end of the film. The dedication is to a person who actually made a cameo within the film. His name is Scott Wampler. He was an entertainment journalist and co-host, along with Eric Vespi, of a Stephen King podcast called the Kingcast. Wampler and Vespi were friends of Flanigan. Flanigan often appeared on their podcast, as has Stephen King. Through this connection, they had a cameo in the busker dance scene within the film. Scott Wampler passed away shortly after the filming of The Life of Chuck was finished. Flanigan chose to dedicate the film to him. Lovingly created, so well acted, this is a film that I can't recommend highly enough. So until next time, keep reading, but also keep watching. Sometimes the collaboration of an author and a filmmaker can elevate the story.